Hey, 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 guess what? I might be sitting in the blue chair, but I'm not TJ. Hello, 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 hello. How is everybody doing tonight? Are you surprised? I am sitting in the blue chair tonight. Oh my goodness, how exciting is this? As you come on, please say hello. Say hello so that I can say hello to you. I would love to welcome you. My name is Andrea Harrison, and I am TJ's sidekick. Hello. And tonight it's Tuesdays with TJ, and she'll be on shortly. She will be gracing your screen shortly, and I'm so excited about tonight. As you know, we have a special guest. We have a special guest tonight. So tonight is going to be so yummy. But I see that we have a few people on. So if you don't mind. Okay, I'm seeing the comments come in now. Hello, Miss Rochelle. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Gordon. Thank you so much, you faithful follower. We are so happy that you guys are here. Listen, if you don't mind, please make sure that you share this. Grab the link. There should be a little share link. If you're watching on YouTube, there should be a little share link. Make sure that you grab the link and share this with a friend, because I guarantee you tonight, you are going to be blessed. And so you want to make sure that you tell somebody about it so that they can be blessed as well. And so we are, what letter are we on tonight? Let me ask you, do you know what letter we're on? Who knows what letter we're on? Tell me what letter we're on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spread the love as well, because tonight is going to be so good. We really don't want anybody to miss it. All right. So what letter are we on? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what letter we're on tonight? Tonight, we are on letter O. We are on letter O. And the word for tonight is overcoming. That's right. The audacity of overcoming. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I see somebody's already in the building. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. So, if you don't mind, go ahead and send a message on Facebook. If you don't mind, go ahead and send a message on Facebook, Andrea. That would be awesome. Okay. So like I said, we are waiting for TJ Mercer to get on here with us tonight. TJ is traveling, and she has been doing so much. Like, she has been so busy, and it's just been crazy for her with everything that she's doing for Moving Day Mafia. For those of you who maybe are new to her, she's definitely going to introduce herself to you so that you know exactly who she is, and she will lay out all the receipts for you. But what I can tell you is that she's one of my very favorite people in all the world, and she is a God-fearing woman who has integrity, and all she cares about is making sure that she makes God smile and that she serves people. She is somebody that I could literally listen to all day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. She is somebody that I could listen to because she's always dropping gems. She always has something good to say. And she is not the type of person that is going to get up and grab a mic if she doesn't feel like she is serving people. So it's those type of people that you definitely want to pay attention to and listen in on. So that's why I'm telling you, make sure that you grab the link. Make sure you grab the link and let the people know that tonight is going to be a really, really good night. All right. So without any further ado.
Oh my God, I totally forgot you were at my house. And I'm like, when did she get a big clapper? I hate I missed the beginning to find out how you explained all of this.
I really didn't. I just said that you are traveling. You're doing big things for Moving Day Mafia. And I'm sitting in the blue chair.
Hey, everybody. I apologize for running late. I had tech difficulties. As Andrea said, I am not at home in Atlanta. I'm in my favorite home, LA. So Atlanta is where I go to work, but LA is where I go to love and be loved on. So I will be here for a minute because it is the place where I feel the most grounded. I feel the most creative, the most productive, that, you know, could possibly change when I just get to know Atlanta more. But for now, yeah, I got to be in LA to be my most productive. So tonight we actually are going to be having a guest coming on. And what's a little crazy is like, you know, God has had me to have to live out the lessons every week. And I still don't know what I'm supposed to be talking about tonight. And so as I was getting dressed, changing my shirt, rather, I'm like getting dressed, like, you know, I all of a sudden like got dolled up and whatnot. As I was getting ready, I was really thinking, you know, about the subject, the audacity to overcome. And I was asking God, like, you ain't said nothing, like nothing. Like, I don't have no scripture. I don't have nothing, God. And his response back, hey, Emily, his response back was, are you going to trust the God in you? And it reminded me of something, and I didn't have a chance to pull it up to have it ready. So just give me a minute, because it reminded me of something that Andrea sent to me. I think it was Sunday. Lord, we communicate so much. I got to keep scrolling for days just to go back to Sunday. Okay, here it is.
I was going to say, I got you if you needed me to read it.
So, how you pronounce the curriculum? How you pronounce the next word?
Curriculum vitae.
Vitae. Okay, thank you. So your curriculum vitae is being built by your experience. It's not learning scripture. It's living scripture. And that's what came to me when I was like, and one of my best friends is sitting right next to me, and he was like, okay, it's almost time for you to go live and watch. I get to watch you pull a rabbit out of a hat, because I've been telling him I don't know. Usually I know the first words that are going to come out my mouth. And so for me, it's like, okay, just start talking, you know. And my train of thought of going down that path of what my curriculum vitae is, it's not in the learning. It's in my being. I have enough of God in me already. And so when I started thinking about that, I started really thinking about the overcome part of this. Hey, my Tanya, I start thinking about the overcome part of this and the different stages, the people that are rocking with me, the people that show up every week for me, the people that show up every week here, the people that are helping me build Moving Day Mafia, the people that come and just camp out and sit with me to make sure I'm productive. Those kind of people, we're all in different seasons of overcoming. And so when I think to myself, what am I overcoming right now in this season? Because what happens is, we have to remember that life is seasons. And there's an overcoming season, and then there's you know what? I'm exhausted. I'm a chill season. And so in this season, I'm caught up in overcoming imposter syndrome. Overcoming, am I good enough thoughts. Overcoming, Moving Day Mafia is about to launch again. Our 3 schools should be announced tomorrow. God, can we really do this? Then I'm caught in the overcoming of overthinking. Come on now. I know I'm not by myself on that one. I'm in the overcoming of overthinking. I'm thinking of 50 million problems down the line, and I ain't even just had one problem yet. I'm anticipating problems. So I'm getting caught up in my mind. And then I'm overcoming the overthinking of what is this really? What if it works? I'm overcoming the self-sabotage. I'm overcoming. One of my media mavericks texted me this morning, and she was talking to me about a decision of, does she continue on with her conference, which will put her in debt, or does she deal with the humiliation of canceling the conference? And after asking her permission to show her a different perspective, I began to think about the humiliating moments of my life. They don't faze me now. And I explained to her, they don't faze me because I'm going to use them in a testimony and a lesson. It's that what feels like, and then I told her, it only feels like humiliation if you let it. Can't nobody make you feel humiliated. That's something that's happening inside by you processing their thought patterns, you processing how you feel about what they are thinking of you. Hey, Felicia, I forgot y'all. Y'all missed me last week? Were y'all crying and tears and snotting and everything, like watching the clock to make sure I was going to go live? I forgot about that. So I just lost my train of thought. Hold on, let me get it back. All the overthinking has gotten me nowhere. When I think of the humiliation of the mistakes that I've made, when I think of the humiliation, they are all in a book. Y'all pretty much know every single mistake that is massive, that caused me humiliation. Y'all know it. I told it. Whether I've told it directly, vocally, or I've written it in one of my books, you know it. And so I told her, only you and God can get to choose. Well, you get to choose, but you and God have to work out. What are you doing? All this noise, like I'm not live. Yes, I know you can't hear. He has headphones on. All of a sudden, he's just making noise in the corner.
You sound like you're talking on the phone.
So, I can't stand Black people sometimes. But when you start thinking about the humiliation or the debt, when you got a choice between the humiliation and the debt, you're going to feel the debt for a minute. You're going to have to recover financially from the debt. The humiliation, I would surmise it ain't going, especially when you get a certain age. When you get a certain age, we're not carrying this stuff for a long time. We will accept I blew it. I thank God for another opportunity to get it right. And I ain't going to camp out here too long. And I expressed to her, I'm like, you have enough life experience, lived experience, and wisdom to know this doesn't define you. And so when I think about all the overcoming, it's a cycle. And some of us are in a season. I talked to another friend today, and I could tell she wasn't right. We were on a Zoom, so I could see her face. And I could tell she wasn't okay. So I said, what's the matter? And if you don't want to tell me, just tell me what your prayer request is. And she, without hesitating, finances. And she's in a situation where the fix, there's some things that the fix is just finances. That's the fix. But in the midst of that, and I've lived enough of these times, in the midst of that, y'all, and I told another friend who was going through the same thing, in the midst of that, you got to go back and count how God has just sustained you. Just when you thought It was horrible for you to be late on your credit card payment. Just when you thought it was horrible to be late on your car payment, just when you thought it was horrible that you were late on yourself because you pride yourself on paying everything on time. And I'm talking about a real experience. This is not theory. But when you start looking at, okay, well, I didn't lose my house, but now I'm 2 months late. Okay. For some reason, they still didn't come get my car. I don't know how, but now I'm 3 months late. When you're concerned about the finances, you've got to go back to how God actually put you in a position that required you have to stretch your faith and trust him. So then what happens is when the next overcoming season happens, and you got to look at, okay, that problem ain't nowhere near where I was, and God took care of me then. He sustained me then. I kid you not, y'all, I was 4 months late on my mortgage. It never showed up on my credit report. Never. When you run his receipts during your overcoming season, it sets you up to not be fazed, unbothered, unconcerned. I ain't saying I don't want you to pay your bills. That ain't what I'm saying, because God's got it. No, that's not what I'm saying. But give yourself some grace. Give yourself some slack, because just maybe you are in your overcoming season. And the thing is, you ain't coming out of it until God says so. You just not. And I get a sense there's someone that's just really fighting this season. And maybe I don't have nothing to show for what I'm supposed to say, except I'm supposed to tell you, stop fighting. Surrender to the season you're in. Take a deep breath and like, okay, God, I've tried to dig myself out of this hole. I've tried to find the solution for this problem. I've tried to figure this out on my own. It ain't nothing working. It's at that point, Felicia. It's at that point, Tanya, that God's grace abounds. It's at that point that God can show you who he really is. If God has not had to come rescue you from something that you got yourself in, Emily, you made the mess. Do you really have faith? When you have to stand and look at a Red Sea and ain't no way ain't no way you can to part it. No way. And you just got to stand there and resolve. Either I'm going to drown or God is just going to part this sea. Hey, Ma. There were seasons in my life, my mom has had to pay my rent. Imagine that. And there are times where I have to overcome the feeling of, dang, my mama had to come pay my rent, versus, dang, I got a mama who loves me that no matter what age I am, she gonna come through. If it's in her capability to fix it, she gonna come through, and she gonna come through with a champion, like a champion. She gonna Olivia Pope this thing. So I want you to change the narrative. I want to camp there for a minute. I need you to change the narrative of what you allow the enemy to tell you during your overcoming season. And flip the narrative of, man, I'm 2 months behind on my car payment, to, man, I'm 2 months behind on my car payment, but the car's still running. I want you to flip the narrative of, dang it, this is the 5th job interview I've had that I didn't get the job, to, dang it, this is the 5th job interview that I had that I actually got a foot in the door. And so I know I'm getting closer to the yes. But yes, it's time to flip the narrative. And I'm talking to myself. I was talking to my bestie here. What did you say to me yesterday? And I said, you know, you're right. I've been working on, what did you say? I was in the car driving and you said something to me. And I said, you don't remember. I don't remember what we were talking about. But even I am working on flipping the narrative. Oh, I was talking to him about just being overwhelmed with it all and overcoming my feeling of, I got this never-ending to-do list and I got everything that's coming at me that seems like a priority, and that it's all win-win situations. And he said to me, yeah, but Teej, you know, God's gonna come through. You'll walk in a meeting and you've seen God, you come out with $20,000 that you didn't even ask for. And I had to stop and take a beat and go, yeah, you're right. God knows I'm one person building an empire in a 2-bedroom apartment with a tiny, committed, mighty team. He ain't surprised by none of this. He's not surprised that I was so tired that I needed to sleep. And so I didn't get to work on that proposal. He ain't surprised by any of it. And a matter of fact, I got enough. You got to start running back the receipts. As a matter of fact, I got enough receipts that I know that if he's delaying a meeting, if he allowed me to miss something, then there's another piece of the puzzle coming. It never fails. There's always a piece of the puzzle coming that I didn't know that I was even going to need. When you are building something that is past the benefit of you, and I even had a crisis. I guess this is maybe just me just telling y'all what I've been through, so that y'all, or what I'm going through, or the feelings I'm having, so that you won't think that you're crazy and are alone. But I was having feelings that I was sharing with a friend, and I was saying to her, when you don't have children, like I was raised by a mom who I know will sacrifice everything for my dreams. I'm around, I love parents like that in my life, that I know the love they have for their children. And a lot of times that's what drives them, is what they want to build for their children, what the legacy is that they want to build for their children. And I was having a crisis of saying, am I still driven enough? Because I don't have children. So what's going to, again, it's coming to me worried about problems down the line. What's going to happen if I lose my drive? Because I ain't worried about leaving a financial wealth legacy. I want to spend all my money in my lifetime and do a lot of giving. And I was like, what's going to drive me? What will drive me if I'm not working to leave something for my children so that my children can come from money? Yes, I want to take care of my niece and my nephew, but those aren't my kids. Those are my brother's responsibility. So then what's going to get me up? And so that was an overcoming moment that my friend had to kind of talk me through. And then I had to go back. And that's what I'm saying. You got to watch how Satan gets to your mind. Because I forgot, I got a strong purpose that wakes me up. I was born to love on God's kids. And perhaps I can't have my own kids because I got to have enough of TJ to go around to take care of thousands by the time I take my last breath. I have to have the autonomy to be able to move and just come and be in LA for 3 months. So as you go and progress through your overcoming season, take control of your thoughts and flip the narrative. Maybe there's a scripture right there. Somebody find where that scripture is. Take every thought captive. Because you know, we doing Bible study and I ain't got no scripture. So with that said, I want to introduce our guest tonight.
By the way, that's 2 Corinthians 10:5.
Thank you. You didn't put it on the screen. Ain't nothing on the screen. We have no issues. Yeah.
I just found it. We take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ.
Ah, there's your scripture for tonight. For those of you who said, well, we're supposed to be doing Bible study. She just talking. There's your scripture. That was the long way of me saying, get your thoughts in check. And then once you get your thoughts in check, flip the narrative. So I guess tonight, I came across her in my prayer closet of how she came to be our guest for tonight. And hold on, I'm trying to. And I was sitting there thinking about, okay, the letter is O. This was before I left Atlanta. And she wrote a post. I couldn't find the post that got me to thinking, but then that made me go look at her book. And this is what she wrote. And this is what had me, because I was like, now that's some audacity right there. And I reached out to her to ask if she would be willing to come and talk about the O. It says, I was still a freshman and I saw the seniors lined up to take pictures. I stood in line like I was supposed to be there. I figured someone would find out I was just a freshman, but I needed to put on that cap and gown and I needed an image of it to see it was possible for me. Hey, Jay. I nervously filled out the paper thinking someone would ask for my senior ID, but I managed to make it through and take my freshman pre-graduation pic. My roommate Anna just laughed at me like, now that's some Chicago crazy, as we jokingly called it when I did something daring. I didn't think they would send my graduation picture proof, but they did. And when I got it, I put it on my goal board. I don't think I'd heard of vision boards yet. The following week, I was called into my advisor's office and she said, and I'll need to confirm, it just dawned on me. I've been calling her Andrea. I need to know if she's pronouncing her Andrea. You just insist on ruffling these people's feathers. Can you tell me why there's a picture of you with the graduating class and you just making it out of freshman year? Confidently, I said, I needed to see it to know that I could. I was trying to be photographed with the other senior class. I just needed the proof. She said, I just needed the proof. By the proof, I meant the picture proof and the proof of confirmation and seeing myself in a cap and gown. She just looked at me and said, okay, I'll tell the people, but you something else. I said, thank you for making my strange actions understandable to your fellow faculty. Miss A definitely earned her checks working with me. So it is my privilege, it's my joy to have a wonderful conversation about the audacity to overcoming with Miss Andrea Thompson. Hi, sunshine.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. So everybody, so first of all, correct me because this is on me. I did not, and I normally don't do this. I did not get the correct way to pronounce your name.
Oh, it's fine. I'm actually laughing about that myself because I've been saying Andrea pretty much.
It's got to be Andrea. It's got to be Andrea. We won't have it any other way tonight.
I've been saying it like that all my life. And maybe like a year ago, my mom was like, why you keep saying your name like that? I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, it's Andrea. I'm like, oh, wow.
Okay.
So I'm confused about apparently I'm confused about which way.
Well, then I don't feel bad then because I was like, wait. And I always stumble between my Andreas and my Andreas because I'm like, okay, I forgot which one you are. So just give me grace.
Well, which one do you prefer?
I guess what my mama said is Andrea. But
Andrea.
I've been saying Andrea for 30-some years. So I'm just like, Lord, she didn't confuse me. But okay, yeah.
You got a new identity.
Right.
So, Andrea, tell us a bit about the backstory. Oh, now that's some alliteration right there. A bit about the backstory of writing The Audacity to Overcoming.
Sure. I think it's such an interesting backstory, and I can't shortcut it by telling you the abridged version. So I'll tell you a little of the lengthy version, but it's well worth it. So the first thing that I find very intriguing about it is that out of all the colleagues and mentors that I talked about when I was in the process of writing the book, what would the book be? I didn't know if it was The Audacity of Overcoming. I didn't have a title. I didn't know. And people always said, you have to write your first book about marketing. You have to write your first book about your area of expertise. And I started writing that book. And while it came easy to me, it felt like anybody could write this book who is an expert in marketing. And I wanted to write a book that only I could write, a book that told a story only I could tell. And so it didn't feel personal to me, this marketing book that everybody said had to be my first book. And so I said, okay, well, I can write a book about the myriad of experiences I've had from living in South Africa, meeting Michelle Obama, going through Hurricane Katrina in my senior year. I can write a collective book about these individual stories because that's the story that's personal to me that only I can tell. And so I started to write it, didn't know what the title would be. But I knew that I wanted to talk about my experience following the Obamas, how much I admire Michelle Obama being from the South Side of Chicago like me. I knew that was a critical component of the book is writing that chapter. And I was actually, I was freestyling with my mentees. I rap a little bit with my mentees. And I said, that's a hidden talent, but I said, while Michelle Obama was becoming, I was overcoming. And when I said it, I was like, wait a minute, Barack got a book, Audacity of Hope, Audacity of Overcoming. And it hit me. And I was like, somebody for sure has used that. Somebody has thought of that. And so I started doing my due diligence and searching, and I couldn't find anything. And so I said, okay, I need to contact my lawyer. I want to trademark this as a series. I just love it as not just a book, but a series of books and apparel connected to it. So my marketing wheel started turning, and I really just fell in love with the title. And it evolved from there in the pandemic of all times.
So give us a little peek into your background. Let's start at the very beginning of South Side of Chicago. Paint that picture for us of you growing up and what led to you going to an HBCU Dillard. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure, sure. One of the most vivid things, well, it's a number of things that stand out in my childhood, but this is one that I really recall, and I think it's strong for how some things happened and came full circle when I grew up. I remember I had this bike that I was always excited to ride after school, and it had the shingles on it. It's pink. You know, we all remember that bike or those skates that was a certain color. This was my bike that I loved. And I was out with the bike, and my grandmother had, my dad's mom, had a mansion on 47th Street, just doors away from where I grew up. And she passed when I was really young, maybe under 5. And I remember stories about this house that everybody called the big house. And so at some point while I was young, the family, the house got out of the family. So these new people owned the house. But my family's name is still to this day carved in the pavement. And it was there when I was 12, like literally carved into the pavement in front of this house. And so I remember riding past, and the owner was outside. He's gardening, and I'm like, hey, you know, my family lived here. This is my family's name. You know, I know you probably want to change the pavement, but I hope that you don't, because this is my family's name in the ground. It's part of our legacy of having owned this place. And I remember he told me that he wouldn't cover it up, and he didn't. And so this house sold while I was in law school. And before it sold, I got to come and see the house and come and meet the owners. And I was saddened because I was like, wow, my family owned something this nice. What we owned, my grandmother was such a businesswoman that she owned a place like this. And I was sad because I wasn't prepared to purchase it. It was selling for over $700,000, and I wasn't prepared to purchase it. And so in my mind, I was like, I should have been ready. I talked to this man at 12. I should have been ready by the time this happened. And so I feel like I've always embodied the audacity, even as a child, to do audacious things. I've challenged the school in high school because they said for me to take AP classes, I had to have a certain GPA and a certain test score. And I said, hey, put me in the class, give me a probationary period, because it's not right for you to restrict me based on what you think I can or cannot achieve. And so, yeah, that having the audacity even in high school got me to take the AP class, and it led to a change in that policy. So even growing up young on the south side of Chicago, I feel like I always had the audacity to overcome and the audacity to speak out. And that's probably what led me to law school. But fast forward to law school, I dropped out of law school and started a marketing agency.
But wait a minute, because
as a book.
Go back to your experience of even, I don't want them to miss this. Go back to your experience of even them, or even you going to Dillard. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I remember when I graduated from Kenwood, it was very interesting because Kenwood Academy on the south side was my third high school. And I actually was able to attend Catholic schools from a scholarship that I had from the Big Shoulders Fund. That's what afforded me to be able to attend Catholic grammar school and high school. And when I ended up at Kenwood, it was open campus lunch. And I was missing a lot of classes. That was the most freedom I ever had in high school, to be able to go outside for lunch and they think I'm supposed to come back. I was often not coming back.
And they think they got the nerve to think that you can come back and be in class.
The audacity of them
of them thinking that.
Right. And so, yeah, I was spending like 3 lunches at the neighborhood restaurants. Like, yeah. So what ended up happening is I barely graduated, actually. And that's crazy when I say that, because all through high school, I had a 3.5, 3.9, always had great grades. But by the time I got to Kenwood, in my last year, I was working part-time at UPS. I was taking a college course that was paid for by UPS, and I was getting an A in the college course, but messing up in my high school classes. So it just didn't make it. They like, you working, you got a good grade in a college level course at a community college while you're in high school, but you're messing up in your grades. So I was just, and mentally I was done with high school. And I had a very prolific high school advisor who was also my African-American history teacher. It's always, like you said, it's always, and most of the time it's a Black woman professor or teacher that believes in you, that pours into you, that goes above and beyond. She sat down with me and she said, I know you're super smart, but it's hard to tell because my class is the last on your schedule, and oftentimes you're not here. She said, but when you're here, I know that you are brighter and possibly more so than the ones who are always here.
You the type of student can just not study and then still get at least a B on the test.
Yeah, that was me. Exactly. And so it was just really interesting because I wasn't supposed to walk across the stage in high school because one of the teachers, he said, I'm not going to pass you. You haven't been here. I know you're smart. I know you passed the exams, but because of attendance, I'm not going to pass you. And he just refused. And all the other teachers were talking to him like, hey, she has a scholarship to Dillard, blah, blah, blah. And the Black woman wrote my letter of recommendation to Dillard, Miss Elizabeth Kirby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she wrote my recommendation to Dillard, and I was on the version I graduated. And why I graduated is because I transferred from Catholic school and I had to make up the religion credits. But I took night classes and made up for the religion credits, but I took one too many classes, more than I needed to make up the religion credits. So it made up for even if he failed me, I was still going to graduate. So because I accidentally took an extra class. And so I ended up walking across the stage, even though I had that one bad grade in that class. And it was by the grace of God. Really, it was by the grace of God, because I not only ran the risk of not graduating from not attending classes, I actually lost one of my good friends due to gun violence my senior year. And I remember telling my teacher, Miss Kirby, who wrote the letter of recommendation, I remember telling her, I don't think I'm going to be anything if I don't leave Chicago. And I think that was the thing. Yeah, that was the thing that moved her to be like, okay, we're going to get you into a school outside of Chicago. And for me, I felt like I needed that to be a place where I can see greatness that looked like me. So it was very important that I attended a historically Black college. And the only other choice for me was University of Arkansas. That was ROTC scholarship. But when I went to visit, they told me I had to commit to active duty. And I didn't feel more comfortable about that. I'm like, I've seen someone shot. I'm not interested in shooting anyone or being shot. So yeah.
So Andrea, what would you say when you reflect over your life? What would you say has been, you can look at, this was a defining moment. This was a moment that if I didn't have the audacity to take this shot, if I didn't have the audacity to believe I could do this, because what I'm finding is a lot of times we get opportunities, but we don't have the confidence to take the shot. And so what would you say, tell us about that defining moment where you really had to have the audacity to make the move?
Well, I mean, this is what comes to mind first, and it's challenging because oftentimes I've thought seriously recently, I've thought, did I waste my time? And in hindsight, I don't think it was a waste of time. I think the way that people responded made me feel like I wasted my time. And what I'm referring to is, I left to go to law school on a scholarship with my son, who wasn't even school age. And it was in a place I'd never been, in Portland, Oregon. And it was interesting because I've always wanted to go to law school since grammar school. But when I applied, I was applying to all these reach schools, and I was getting admitted, but I wasn't getting funding to afford for me to go. And so when I got admitted to my reach school, Ivy League law school, Notre Dame, I was just like, oh, I got to go here. I got to find a way. And I was trying to get loans. I was trying to get grants. I was trying everything. I was going to Operation Push. I was asking everybody I could think of to help me. And it was just like, I could not figure out how to get it done. And the admin office said, we'll give you a extra 2 months to come up with, a loan or the money. And I couldn't. And so I ended up going to a lower ranking school in Portland, but they gave me more money. And so I relocated with my son. About a year and a half into law school, Mike Brown happened. The Mike Brown murder happened.
Oh, yeah, in St. Louis. Ferguson.
Yeah. Hands up. Yep. Hands up, don't shoot. And I was very committed to having a Black Law Students Association presence on campus, because the organization had not been active for so long, and Portland is very racially homogenous. Our campus was reflective of that. So it wasn't many of us, but I wanted there to be a presence of bosses. So I was very actively involved. And I remember going to a protest and I was like, I don't think I want to spend my life fighting. And that was the first time I felt like I don't want to be a lawyer. And it was hurtful for me, because I'm like, what else would you do with your life? This is all you've ever wanted to do. Like, you never had any other dreams since you was like 5 or 6 or 7. They was asking you, this is what you said. So I was like, man, I worked so hard to get here. How can I turn around now? I'm here. And I started a marketing firm based on Periscope. I started a marketing firm, and I started doing social media management. I started selling vintage clothes through Poshmark. I was very interested in entrepreneurship, but my mind couldn't really correlate. How are we making this move from the law school dream to entrepreneurship? What does that look like? And I'm like, well, my minor in undergrad was marketing. I really do have a way with words, and I still can advocate. I'm an advocate by nature. I still can advocate. And I remember thinking, like, I got to get up, because I was so sad. I felt defeated by not finishing the law school dream.
Okay, so hold on, because I need people to catch that. Because I've been, when you said it, I've been watching, I haven't said anything about it, but people slamming, Angela Bassett for her response to losing, the Oscar. And for me, it's a feeling of, but losing sucks. And maybe, when you don't get to achieve that dream that you and work so hard for, we're human. So talk about a little bit about that, because I want people to relate with you about understanding, I really wanted this and I didn't get it. And I'm the humanity of me, this hurts. Talk a little bit more about missing that point, missing that moment. Uh-oh. Andrea.
She might be frozen.
Okay, I think she's frozen. So you and I aren't frozen, so it's on her end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give her a second. It might bounce back. That's so ironic, though, TJ, because it's like I'm listening to what she's saying. And, that was where I was supposed to be a lawyer. I was supposed to be in law school. I went and took the test and everything. And, and then to think of where I am now and what I'm doing today after 25 years of being, a paralegal. And I remember, and I know you remember, when I first took that, when I first pivoted, that feeling of I had to get over and realize that because I didn't have that big paralegal job anymore, that didn't define me. That wasn't who I was. It was what I did, and I did it well, but that God has so much more for me. And sometimes it just takes time to get through it, and overcome, I guess, for you to get to the point where it's like, that was what was supposed to happen. But it's tough.
Anybody else have, experienced that kind of loss where you, just disappointment where it was essentially your dream?
Mm-hmm.
And it almost, like Andrea H said, that it's almost, you got to redefine who you thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to redefine everything you believe to be, even about the future you.
Mm-hmm. Even the simplest of things of going to events, to, especially as a new entrepreneur, and going to an event, and people say, oh, so, what do you do? And you're just starting out in your entrepreneurship journey. And then it's like, you want to say, oh, I'm a paralegal, because that comes with a lot of respect, and you want to talk from that point. And then it's like, but that's not who I am. Now I'm just an entrepreneur.
It's fascinating that the conversation, while we're waiting on her to come back in, has turned to that, because for those of you who rock with me on Facebook, me having to let go of who I am as the media maverick, the chief noisemaker, that was very, very difficult for me because it was my dream. Welcome back.
Thank you. I was like, what happened?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I was
my
asking.
computer.
No worries. I was asking a question. You
About Angela Davis.
right? You
Bassett.
froze and then you were out. So I was just wrapping up a train of thought that you sparked when you were talking. That for my probably 6 years of before the Howard University, 4 years at the Howard University, all I ever wanted was to be a TV editor in Hollywood or do something with telling stories. That's it. And so when God told me to turn around and walk away in 2015, that was hard enough. Yeah. Like, who am I independent of TJ, who is the editor of this, and TJ, who am I? Like, do I have value? Mm-hmm. And then to turn around, and then I got to leave LA and go like, wait, what? This was who I thought defined me. And that was really, I had to have a come to Jesus moment. I'm not talking about a while ago. I'm talking maybe about 6 weeks ago, where I really had to have and that's when you saw the Facebook covers change, the profile pictures change, because
but
God
it took you so long. It took you so long.
Andrea tried to get me to change it, and I just kept pausing and like, yeah, I'll get to it. I get to it. And because I was so tied to people seeing me connected that way, that I thought to myself, well, I don't have anything unique about me that is valuable enough for me to have people ride with me, or but then if I say it that way, you think about it, I'm saying, well, the only reason why people ride with me is because of what I do. So that don't make no sense. Because I know I got riders who like, you know what, you driving us crazy trying to figure this ish out, but we still gonna ride.
Yeah.
And so to have to get to a point where, and I'm be honest with you, I'm still not fully there. Like, I still have to go, okay, what we building now, God, and why we can't, like, you don't want me, no, that I can't say, oh, okay. And really having to just lean on, I'm enough with how he built me. And like I said at the very beginning, I know my purpose is to love on God's kids. That's it. I get to do it in a myriad of ways. But at the end of the day, that's what it just boils down to. Yeah. So I was asking you, Andrea, and I don't know, did you hear me use the Angela Bassett reference? Had I said
absolutely.
That?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I had said that. And so I was asking you, what was it like for you to have to release the Notre Dame law school dream?
Until maybe about 2 weeks ago, I still felt like it cost me some level of success that I wasn't able to afford to go to Notre Dame, because I had a mentor of mine who I would say my suburban mentor who does not come from struggle mentor. She said, nobody ever turns down Notre Dame. That was your ticket. And I don't think she meant it the way I received it. But for a long time, I heard her in my head saying, that was your shot. That was the shot that you missed. That was the way for you to be successful. And I had to think about it differently and say, I'm capable of being successful even if I didn't go to Notre Dame. And the fact that I was admitted, I kept my admissions letter for so long because being admitted was even like a badge of honor for me. And I think what really shook it is that I recall people's response to me telling them that I was accepted and trying to get to go to Notre Dame. They were more interested in me. They were surprised. They were intrigued. And so I was really going off of the reaction that I got that affirmed me rather than believing that I affirmed or validated myself and that I was enough. It was that this graduation from this Ivy League school where there's not a lot of people who look like me is going to make it so I'm affirmed. I'm good enough if I get this degree. And I remember I wanted to go to law school at Howard, to be honest with you. I really did. But I had a professor from Howard tell me we were at an international conference when I came back from studying abroad. And he said, you cannot, and he's wrong now, I know, but he said, you cannot have 2 HBCUs on your resume. It shows that you lack diversity and that you're not going to be able to, flourish in an environment that's not predominantly Black. So you need he said, that's how I learned what PWI meant from him in that conversation. He was like, you need a PWI on your resume. And so that's why I ended up saying, okay, I'm going to apply to these Ivy Leagues. But I really wanted to go to Howard for grad school. But yeah, so
now can you pinpoint, and when you sit and think about, I'm big on running God his receipts. So can you pinpoint or go back and look at the benefit of the journey that did not have, or the beauty of the story that did not have Notre Dame as a plot point?
Well, because you used Angela Bassett, it's really making me think of the speech that she did with Regina King, where she said, if God be for you, who can be against you? And she said it with all the sass,
all the Angela Bassettness.
Exactly, all of it, right? With all the audacity. And I read a book by Viola Davis, Finding Me, who's another one of my Black women icons or people that I admire. And I really feel like I came to a point of seeing my time in Portland and my being derailed from Notre Dame as really a God-led moment. And that sounds crazy because I really felt it as a failure. And I mean, when I tell you I felt it as a failure, this is how much so I felt it as a failure. When I couldn't go to Notre Dame, and this was before GoFundMe, really. When I couldn't go to Notre Dame, I went back into the car rental industry, and I was a manager at a car rental company at the airport. And, for my age, that was a good job. It was a company car. It paid well, So yeah, that was a good job. But I remember my first week back, and there was a sea of Notre Dame fans in the lobby. Everybody was driving from Chicago to South Bend for a game. And when I turned the corner and saw it, I was like, oh my God, what kind of, I just come out of not being able to attend this school. And this school is everywhere at my job. And I remember I went in the bathroom and I cried. And my son was a baby at that point. He was probably like 2 or 3. And I had to go through another admission cycle of applying for law school. And I was just crying. And I was like, how did I get back to this place of working at a car rental company and not pursuing my law school dreams? And one of the Notre Dame fans ended up tipping me when I shared this story about not going to Notre Dame. And he felt bad. So he gave me a tip and he said, keep hope alive. And I was like, am I in this place where I'm stuck, or is God really trying to show me something? And I feel like the breaking moment for me was that I had the courage to take my son to Portland, where I had never been, set up a home, get him in school, have myself in school, and there by myself primarily until I brought my younger sister there with me. And I think what it really showed me is that you can move from where you're familiar, where you are comfortable in your hometown, even with great responsibility, the responsibility of another person's life. You can do that with God. So I feel like if God could take, even if I didn't graduate from law school, I don't think me moving to Portland was ultimately about me finishing law school. I think it was about me being able to live in another place that I'm unfamiliar with and bring my son with me as a single mom. That was a feat. So now when I think about moving out of Chicago, because my son is about to be 13, so I'm seriously considering, my next move. When I think about it, I'm not as fearful because I've done this before. God kept me the first time.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it was a lesson in audacity and resilience. I think that's what it really was.
I think those two words go hand in hand. And the irony for me, I can, speak for me, that resilience was my word of my 40th decade, because I had just come out of an abusive marriage, was getting my life back. So, those first few years of 40 was all about resilience. Resilience was my favorite word. But as I started moving into my 50s, and you start shedding some of the I don't give an F's and what is really important. And when you have survived some stuff and you got a better clarity around why God gave you breath, you start making moves that are just audacious. And when God dropped the ABCs of Audacity in my spirit, Thanksgiving of 2022, I felt it like he had dropped it. Some of you who were there that night at Bible study the week before, that I felt it like it was just audacity was haunting me. And so when I'm thinking of the visions that he's given me for this next season, this next decade, I'm acting with some audacity of asking, bold ask, some audacity of believing that there's a yes to those bold asks. And C, when I taught the Bible study, the C was come, because it was based on Jesus telling Peter, come. But as I'm, expanding the message, it's all the audacity to be confident.
Yeah.
And walk around with listen, I don't know a lot of stuff, but what I do know
yeah,
is God's got me. And as long as I'm on his payroll, the onus is on him to provide me with the tools to do my job. So when you look at what's up for you in this next season, what is it that the audacity, the word audacity, means to you in the moves that you're called to make in this next season of overcoming?
This is such a good question. And man, that's good. That's so good. Honestly, when I thought about the audacity at the naming of the book, my grandma used to say, you sure got a lot of nerve. Every time I would do something that was like a little like edgy, she would say that you sure got a lot of nerve. And I think that, there was a time when people would encourage you to be humble. And when I looked up the word humble, it doesn't really have a good definition. And I remember thinking to myself in my journaling time, I said, there's a time to be humble. I understand that. But I believe in this season, I'm going to have to be audacious in the spaces that I occupy, because being humble will not be the attitude or the stance that I need to take in the places that I'll be in. Because if I am humble, then in the back of my mind, I'll think that I don't belong here. I'll think that, it's too many people who've had too much access to things that I've been denied of, or too many, or the politics are not in my favor, or I'm a single mom, or, I grew up in an urban environment. I'll make up all these reasons to why it can't be me. But if I say, okay, that happened, okay, abusive relationship, okay, single mom, okay, dropped out of law school, all that happened, okay, that's me. But still, with all the audacity, I believe that it is me that he called to be in this space. I do believe it is me that he called with this particular message that only I can give. And so it really makes me feel like I have to embody that, not just in the book and my story having the audacity, but the moves thereafter. have to embody the audacity. And so as I move forward, I'm like, okay, this is a book series. So now we have the journal, we have the audio book dropping, and I've looked at Chicken Soup for the Soul. I've looked at the Purpose Driven Life. I've looked at Minute Manager. I mean, I've studied this thing. And now I'm like, okay, we got to pivot to the audacity to market your book, the audacity to market and publish, because now I have to bring in the marketing. But it's still so much of my personal story that I have to share. And when I think about the tentacles, I guess it's like an octopus. I'm like, okay, the audacity to own it with the real estate agents, the art of audacity with the artists. I mean, it's so much that I could do with this, right? But when I pray about it and really ask the Lord, what would you have me to do? What's really strongly on my heart is an adapted version for young people, because I am a big sister to 3 young ladies, and we have a 12-year difference between us, me and the next one under me. And we've had a relationship where we've lived together in our mom's house. One of them lived with me in my house. You know, we're from different generations, so we can't really go out and hang out too much, but talk, and we've been off and on. So understanding young people and the things they go through, and looking at the things I encountered and the challenges I had with dating in high school and having self-confidence. And I mean, I even talk about in the book wanting to wear wet and wavy hair in high school because it made me look mixed.
Yeah, I remember that part. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the craziest thing to me now, because I love wearing my natural hair now. Love it. So I'm like, I really had to learn to love me, all of me. And so, yeah, the audacity adapted for young people really touches my heart. Just like I enjoy going to Clark Atlanta and giving a student a scholarship. The things that I've overcome, God is positioning me to serve in those areas. Domestic violence awareness, trying to afford to go to school and you can't, being a single mom, raising a young Black boy. So all of the things that I'm overcoming, God is positioning me to connect with others who have a similar story, to inspire them to overcome and to provide resources and support. So
while we are wrapping up, I do have another question I want to go back to. But in the meantime, so make sure, Andrea, if you haven't already, put the link in how to get Andrea's book in the chat. And if you have questions for Andrea, please put them in the chat. I want to go back to the excerpt that I read, Andrea, at the top. And it was something about you just saying, I needed proof. Talk to us a little bit about that. I needed proof. What, because at the time you 18, 19 years old or something like that, right? Because you were freshman at Dillard. Yep. Talk a little about how much you already knew at the time that you knew I need to have a vision of what my goal was.
I feel like, you know, I think in that moment, I felt like the odds were always stacked against me. Not because I wasn't smart and I couldn't make it in college. I always knew I was going to go to college. Anybody
relate to that? That you've lived a life where you felt like the odds were stacked against you all the time? I'm curious because, you know, I'll be honest, that wasn't my story. You know what I'm saying? I always, and so I know that there are people here that can relate to those feelings of feeling like the world is against you, feeling like you can't catch a break, feeling like, you know, no matter what you do, somebody's going to be there to knock you down. I want to know from the people in the chat to talk to us about that. So go ahead, Andrea.
Sure. I think that what I wrote about very sensitively about growing up and my constrained relationships at times with my parents. I think that sometimes when you cannot trust the people that you're naturally supposed to trust for whatever reason, it builds up a certain defense mechanism to where you're hardened. I love that. It's a song Lauryn Hill has where she says, "Don't be a hard rock when you really are a gem." I love that because I feel like all of this time I was a gem, but I became hard because I wanted to be a tough girl who didn't let anybody hurt her, who didn't expect the best out of people because I was prepared for them to show me the worst. And so with that comes a certain level of, I don't think that this great thing that I'm trying to attain is possible for me. And so I need to have a visual of it. I need to be able to see what it looks like before I get there so that I can understand how this is truly possible for me while I'm on my way there. And so as I thought about the proof, because I said, I don't want to have my photo taken with the class. That wasn't why I did it. I just wanted the proof back. I just wanted not what they would print, not the picture that they would print, but the proof that they would send just to me. And it's called a proof in photography, but it was really symbolic of it being proof for me that this is possible even for me. And while, you know, I had a young lady who couldn't even have housing on campus. So she was moving out as I was moving in. And we talked, and she said, you know, I can't afford it. We tried, but I just can't afford it. And they're packing back up the car. And I'm like, that really could have been me. That was me. Because I showed up without housing and told them I was going to sleep in the library till we figured it out. Because my mom already
talk
told
about
me.
audacity. And sometimes that's what you got to do at HBCU too. You got to have audacity at HBCU. And I love that. I'm glad you brought that up. I love that story. Go a little deeper into that story. What happened? What
happened was I got kicked out of high school in my junior year, the all-girl Catholic school. And my mom said, no. The first time I got kicked out, I'm sorry. The first time I got kicked out, my mom said, I'm not registering you for another school. You going up there, you fighting, you getting in trouble. I'm not registering you no more. So I went and registered myself at this other high school. And when I got kicked out of there, I went and registered myself at Kenwood at a public high school. And my mother signed off on it. And hold
on. I'm sorry. What was that about? You kept getting kicked out of school, but you still would re-register yourself in school. What was that about?
I filled out my FAFSA for college too. And my mom was like, sign my name. Okay, whatever. And so, I mean, but the getting kicked out in grammar school was really me and it took another Black woman again to pull me aside, even in high school, and tell me, hey, you getting in trouble with people who don't have as much potential as you. And you talking about they disrespecting you disrespecting yourself. She was like, you disrespecting yourself by fooling with them. And then when they get out of pocket with you, you want to check them. Now you in a fight, and you here on scholarship. They not. She had to tell me that. And I'm like, because it was a thing where, okay, you're not gonna disrespect me. You're not gonna challenge. You're not gonna talk to me bad. You're not gonna call me. If I knew what I know now, it's like, call me what you want. I walk away, and I'm doing something bigger here. But back then, it was like, you want to fight? Okay, you could wind me up and poke my buttons, and there it goes, real short fuse. And so I relate to young women who grow up in a certain environment and they become hardened and they think they got to be tough. And, it's a lot that comes with that. A lot of distrust, a lot of trauma, a lot of healing that's necessary. But yeah, God's grace. God brought me through high school and got me to college. And so I want to circle back to what you asked me, but when you took me to getting kicked out, that took my mind somewhere else. Put me back on the right path, TJ.
Because I just thought, like, okay, she keep getting kicked out, but then she'll go re-enroll herself. Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, my mom told me when I left to go to New Orleans, and I had a little bit of money and a whole bunch of suitcases, probably more clothes than I had money. And my mom told me, go and do well and graduate, because if you don't, you ain't got nowhere to come back to. And my aunt thought that was so harsh for my mama to say that to me. And she didn't say it in such a nice way, but it really, and maybe that was her intentions in telling me, but it really fueled me. Like, ain't no safety plan, ain't no safety net. You got to go and you got to figure it out. You got to get you a job. You got to figure it out. And while it takes that, you can condition yourself to make it take that to fuel you, that kind of roughness to fuel you. But I think it's also fueling when you have somebody to say, hey, I'm supporting you. Hey, I'm rocking with you. I got you. But that's not how I was motivated. I was motivated to the contrary, the other way. But I remember when my graduation came and everybody came and celebrated, and I took a look back. I sat back in my seat and I looked at them all dressed up, graduating. and I'm tired. I didn't work overnight at the parking garage. I didn't work for the last 3 weeks to pay off a debt that I didn't have because Miss Armelin, shout out to Miss Armelin. Miss Armelin is like the savior of Dillard University in terms of me graduating.
Hey, Miss Armelin.
Yes, shout out to Miss Armelin. She had been telling Dillard to defer my school balance for 3 years. And it got to the point where they like, hey, you're not going to walk if you don't pay this bill. We've deferred it to graduation. And so I owed them this money, and I'm working overnight at the parking garage, overtime, to just get the money to pay to graduate. And I called and asked, couldn't get it. I had to work to get it. So when a lot of my family members showed up for my graduation dressed up, and I was like, y'all don't even know what it took to get here for real. Look at y'all. Y'all sharp too.
Not sharp.
Sharp. I was tired. I mean, I'm talking about working from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., going to class, going back at 3 p.m. Like I was literally working those last 3 weeks like nobody's business, trying to pay Dillard that money. So yeah. God is the ultimate plug, as the book say. G.I.T.U.P. God is the ultimate plug, because he's been
I was getting ready. I was like, oh, we have to talk about the acronym. But okay, so before that will be the last thing we're gonna talk about. So go back and finish the story of what happened of you showing up to Dillard with no housing.
Yeah, okay. I hope you read this part because it's so much better. Okay, so what ended up happening, credit to my mom. My mom is very innovative and creative when it comes to multiple ways of making money. She is a hustler. And she said, because I thought my bill was paid as my high school graduation gift. You know, it wasn't. And when I found out it wasn't, I was extremely mad. I'm like, I can't go to college. My dad like, well, you could always go to the community college. I'm like, what? At that time, I was like, that don't even make sense to me what you're saying. So I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta find a way. And my mom said, we gonna go out here and sell nachos and juices. And my mom always set up a table selling something, barbecue sauce, barbecue off the grill, you know, whatever. So, okay, that don't sound odd for what she does. But I'm just like, we got to do this. Okay, we got to do this again. All right, cool. So we did it, and we raised a little money, but probably not enough for me to pay the housing fee. but I'm telling you, the McDonald's and the Popeyes in the neighborhood felt. That's
the line that I love when I read it. Because you were like, when my mama did, they felt her presence because they would lose sales because mama was out there working it.
Yes. I like the line where I said and I'm not gonna tell that story here, but you'll get a chuckle out of what I said, pre-internet clickbait.
Yes, that was the payoff. I do remember that.
Yes.
And so the last question before I let you go,
sure,
is talk a little bit about the acronym, the significance of the acronym to you.
Sure. So God is the ultimate plug. I feel like with that situation, even me showing up and me having a conversation and pouring out my heart to someone at Dillard's administration and saying, hey, I'm here. I showed up. I feel like it's something y'all could do for me. You know, I'm here. I'm not calling on the phone. I'm not emailing. I'm here. And I need to stay here. I think that if you take a step, but you got to take some kind of step, though. If you take a step, God can show up to plug you in a way that only He can. And I remember when I got the moniker from other people saying that, Andrea's the plug. And I remember like, all right, people keep saying that. I think I'm going to run with it. My marketing mind say run with it. But I remember people kept saying, you're everywhere. You know, you plug in people, you at all the events. And I was tired. I was entrepreneurial fatigue 101. And I'm like, I don't want to be everywhere no more. What are they putting on me? And so Andrea is the plug can only take you to a certain point, but really it's the divine connections. So it was like, okay, God is the ultimate plug. And in those times where I felt like I was in a valley moment, and my biggest valley moment was in the pandemic while publishing this book, because it affected me and my son. It was with my son that was causing me a lot of anxiety. And so I really felt like it's those times when you in the valley, when you laid out, when you like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this one.
Yeah.
That's when it's like God is the ultimate plug, because God can connect you in ways that you don't have what you need to juice you up like that. And I always use this analogy. Different chargers charge your phone differently.
Yes.
It's a cord that's gonna charge it slow. It's a cord that's gonna charge it fast.
That's
God
good.
gonna fast charge you.
Yeah.
That's how God can plug you. So God is the ultimate plug is a preface to what having the audacity is.
I love it. I love it. Andrea, thank you for gracing TWT Chooses with TJ, the ABCs of Audacity series. I am so grateful. I'm so honored that I got to meet you, and looking forward to. She sent me. Her son went to a new school, and first day they're touring the school. And the school has HBCU emblems on all the lockers. And she sent me a picture of Dillard and Howard right next to each other. And I was like, yes, that's the God wink of collaboration. So I look forward to God revealing how we're supposed to play together and helping more people operate in their audacity, and the love that we have for HBCUs and that coming together as well. So
can I celebrate her?
Yeah.
I want to say thank you too, TJ, because I mean, like, I know it was just like a little sentence or two when I posted about it, but it's really deep how you helped me and my son in the pandemic with just reading on Facebook Live. Like, that was the thing for us in a very challenging time. So it's been a pleasure to watch you and the evolution of you activating your audacity from Periscope to what you're doing now. It has been such an incredible inspiration. And when I saw you doing something with audacity, that was a God wink in and of itself. I'm like, look, she got the audacity too. Let's run with it.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Andrea, my Andrea, should we tell them who our 3 schools are for the upcoming moving day season, or should we make them wait till tomorrow?
I feel like if you're okay with sharing it, the fact that they showed up tonight.
Okay. Because
I know you're bubbling over and you want to spill it.
I'm so excited, man. I just really, really am. And Andrea, you can definitely say goodbye. We're not holding you now.
I'm hanging out. All I gotta do is bake a cake. That's all I gotta do is bake a cake.
I am so excited because we knew that we were going to do Paul Quinn College again in Dallas, because we had such a great experience with them, and they definitely Tavetta's like, there's a reward for showing up. Delmar says, yes, please share so we can be excited too. I know Delmar's like, I want to be excited too. So I knew that Paul Quinn was going to be on the list. And unless God says otherwise, Paul Quinn will always be in our roster, being that they are the first school that we did. And they are up to some amazing work down there with how President Sorrell and his team does education, right? And so shortly after we did Paul Quinn, I didn't want it to seem like I was, showing favoritism. Howard has never been on the list. Let me just say that. So before y'all think, oh, it's Howard. No, it's not. Howard has never been on the list because I knew some of the smaller schools, Howard gets plenty of attention. And I knew, that I was called to help the smaller HBCUs. At some point, once we grow and get bigger, there are great students who are coming out of the foster care system who are going to Howard. Actually, I know one young lady right now, she's killing it. She got a full ride to Howard. She did her whole entire high school years in a group home. So they definitely, at some point will get our help. But God started whispering Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. Yes. So we
Isn't
had
that the school? Isn't that the school that Kim went to?
Kim Whitley went to, and
Yes.
Kim was like, when you go to this right after bingo,
Yes.
Kim Whitley was a guest for us on bingo. And then behind the scenes, she's like, well, what you gonna do for Fisk? You need to be doing some of this for Fisk. Little did I know, that Moving Day Mafia would be born. And so I'm going to send Kim a text when we make the official announcement. Like, okay, it's out there now. It's out there. So we need you to help us raise some money for Fisk. And so we talked to the administration. Well, first of all, there's an amazing organization in Atlanta called 5 Strong Scholars. And they are a cohort that walks with high school students going into HBCUs and preparing them for HBCUs. This year, after we had, settled on Fisk, I see that they have students who are going to Fisk as well. So we will be supporting 6 of their scholars going to Fisk. And then last Thursday, the crew and I had a meeting with the administration at Fisk, and I just fell in love and of what they're doing. So, Fisk is entering, they have entered the arena with their women's gymnastics team. And they are the first HBCU to be competing in women's gymnastics in the NCAA tournament. So they already, and then they got a housing thing that they're doing with tiny houses or, tiny, it's just amazing what they are already doing at Fisk. So I remember going to hang out at Fisk from the PWI. I was in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I walked in the dorm and I literally felt like I stepped back in time. It was a wild feeling. History. Yes. And they made a point to make sure I knew that Fisk is a historic campus. Like they were clear on that. And so I'm super excited to rock with them, on, helping this particular group of students. And then finally, the third HBCU is the third HBCU is Prairie View A&M in Houston, Texas. Well, outside of Houston, Texas. And what was special, I toured Prairie View. And what was special about Prairie View is they have a department that's dedicated to the foster care system and homeless kids. And I learned so much about the homeless population. In fact, the director, when I asked him, like, what's the most pressing needs? He said, it's my homeless kids. Because at least with the foster care system, they have they have tuition waivers. The homeless kids are just beating the odds.
Yep.
And going to school by any means necessary.
Yep.
So that visit was very eye-opening. And the other thing that really touched me about Prairie View of why they could really use our help is they're so far away from not civilization, that's not what I mean, but community, that the kids need supplies because these kids don't have cars. And so Uber won't come all the way out there. DoorDash doesn't come the way out there. It's because of how the campus is situated. But yet Prairie View is a dope engineering school. As a matter of fact, I've been communicating with many people at Samsung they with Prairie View Talent. And so it is my honor to serve these students and be a fill-in of just helping them get through those 4 years. So yes, Paul Quinn College in Dallas, Texas, Fisk University in my home state of Nashville, Tennessee, and Prairie View A&M in Houston, Texas.
That's awesome.
So please be looking out next week where we will be dropping our first official fundraiser that I need help with. Y'all know I'm not above asking for help for these kids. So, and all it's going to cost you to really roll hard with us is 2 of your Starbucks trips per month. That's it. That's all we're asking as the minimum. So we'll tell you more about that. It's going to be fun. We've got a whole campaign for social media built around it. But yeah, moving day season is about to take off, and we are super, super happy to meet the total of 39 scholars who will have the benefit of having the force of the Move-In Day Mafia behind them. All right.
Can I just say one thing real quick?
Absolutely.
So I will be in Texas for an event at the Potter's House. The last big thing with the book was that it was selected for Woman Evolve Book Club.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yes, I'm super excited about it, and I'm going to be in Dallas for the Woman Thou Art Loosed. Well, I'm sorry, the Woman Evolve event conference. Woman Thou Art Loosed is coming up in May. That's why I said that. But I'm not sure if you do Move-In Mafia around when school starts in September. I would imagine it will be somewhere around there when school starts. So I would love to contribute, encourage other people to contribute. But if I'm there when you do it in Texas, I would definitely help bring some boxes of supplies with my colleague. And however I can help, you let me know. And I
definitely would be taking you up on that. This actually Move-In Day is August 6th because the colleges go in August. So all of them, because they typically go in a week before the first day of school. So what we learned from last year is that we have to make special arrangements with the schools to let us move in on the weekend, because that's when our volunteers can show up. And so we definitely would be putting out a call for volunteers to sign up for the individual schools. Right now, the firm date is August 6th for Fisk. I'm waiting on Prairie View and Paul Quinn to tell me what their dates are, but I'm willing to say it's going to be in August because that's typically when the colleges go back. But we will have a better strategic plan this year, because y'all know last year we were building that thing from scratch. Didn't know what the heck we were doing, but we got it done. 13 kids were taken care of. So we know a little bit more information this year of, how what we did right and what we did not so right. So we will be definitely putting out there the needs. There will be an Amazon list. We need overall funding, but then we're also going to do Amazon lists for the students so that we really can personalize their needs of what we give them, because we want them to feel seen and mattered. So we don't want to just give them generic stuff. We want stuff that they had a choice in choosing, and that they know there's a group of people that they ain't never met that loves them and still praying for them and putting the money where our mouth is of getting them to school. So, yeah. So everybody, don't forget, go get Andrea's book, The Audacity of Overcoming. It is available on Amazon. Show her some love. Love her up in the chat as I count down in 10. Thanks. I got to get used to being on the West Coast, man, for these. 9. I'm like, it's 6:48. How is that possible? Okay, it's 9:48 for y'all. 8. 7. I love y'all. We have another. It's a series of authors. We have another guest next week. We got the one, the only Miss Roshonda Pratt. coming to talk to us next week about the audacity of giving yourself permission. The P, giving yourself permission is what Rashonda's going to talk about. 6, Rashonda's the author of Visibility is Power. 5, 4,
Can I say 2?
maybe.
Okay.
3,
2 is blue, and I'm sitting in the blue chair.
1. Night, y'all. I'll see y'all next week.